Welcome,
Good
welcome,
day
welcome.
to you.
Take the hair out. That's awesome.
Lockdown things get a little bit
Frisky.
hairy sometimes. We had a couple of identity crises here where we said, you know what, let's try dye our hair, and it was just a spiral of disaster, one after the other.
Or you just like looked at Kanye West, what he was doing, and thought, I need some of that.
It wasn't quite like that. It was just like a sudden realization that, like, you know what, I would probably look really good with purple dye, and
Yes.
kind of just escalated from
And
there. But
locked it in.
locked it in, yeah. Booked an appointment with the girlfriend. She went in, got the dye, everything. Complete disaster. I remember. So we made several attempts with this dye, right? Because turns out when you're not doing it by a professional person, have curly hair and also have very dark brown hair, it becomes quite the challenge. So the first iteration, I would say, was fluorescent orange. That's
Great.
the only way I can describe it. It's a color that you wouldn't want to see any man don outdoors. So let that be a lesson.
Okay, I'm going to strike purple hair off the list for my
Yeah,
next lockdown challenge.
Yeah, don't bother, man. Maybe pink or something is a good one to go for.
Yeah, I'll go there instead. Or I'll go blue rinse, like a
blue
like
rinse.
Yeah,
like a Kool-Aid blue.
Oh yes,
that's kind of trending right now. I've seen a few people don the blue, or like what were those? I don't know if you had those really long ice pops.
Yes,
from the freezer. What are they called? Mr. Freeze.
Freeze. And they tasted like the color.
Yes, Tutti Frutti was hands down the best, one of the best ice pop creations of our generation, or previous generation. I don't know.
Our generation.
Who knows?
The next generation
Gen X,
don't know
Gen
what they
Z, I lose
don't know what
track.
they missed out on. Welcome to 8 Pixel Radio. Today we have
Christos Kastritis.
Hello
everyone. I am Christos, and I am doing design stuff at WhatsApp, and design systems is my bread and butter. I'm also mentoring at ADP List, which has been really, really fun. And yeah, design systems is what I've been doing for a couple of years. So previously at Deliveroo and Workday, so a bit of consumer and enterprise. I'm a massive fan of vibrant colors, the golden hour, and anime. And I'm also a ramen enthusiast. So if you're into any of those things, we're going to get along just fine.
Okay, can you clarify whether enterprise design systems is tables and tables only?
Oh my god, tables. That was literally like one of the main things that I worked on in enterprise was tables. So to answer your question, tables is mostly enterprise.
Tables and buttons is your bread and butter.
And buttons and patterns that make no sense, but are there anyway.
Great. Well, I'm glad we clarified that. That's not question 1, that's question 0.
That would be a good question, though.
What is your bread and butter?
No, about tables.
What's your favorite table? I like a really nice mahogany number. I can put my coffee on. That's my favorite table. All right, let's get into it. Question 1. Are you ready?
I am absolutely ready.
Okay. What one song or album can you listen to and repeat?
I would have to say, so I'm a big fan of movie soundtracks.
Okay.
I'm a person that's a fan of almost most genres. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but one soundtrack that I always fall back on is the Tron movie soundtrack. I like it for a couple of reasons. I think, when you're like in the middle of that deadline or there's a lot of noise going on and you're really trying to focus, I feel like that is the soundtrack for me. I'm also like a really big fan of sci-fi and any kind of sci-fi movie. And I don't know, there's just something about it, especially when you click that first song and it's just your imagination kind of just goes a little bit wild. And also Daft Punk as well. Daft Punk is one of the all-time greats, and I think seeing them do something that's it's a pretty different kind of
Mm.
genre, but still has that Daft Punk feel.
Were
Those are
you were
those.
you heartbroken when they decided to call it a quits?
I was very upset. Yes,
Mm.
they're like one of the bands I've always wanted to see live, and not just for them, but also the kind of show that they put on. I say is just incredible. So that was a very sad time. I didn't
Yeah.
cry on my pillow or anything, I got over it pretty quick. But I'm sure they'll get back together. People always do this. Sure, look at Friends.
You're like,
Like
who the hell are Daft Punk now? Don't even never heard of them. If you live near Angel in London or want to go to Angel, back when bars were open, there was a place called the Queen's Head, and there used
oh,
to
I
be a
have heard of it. Yeah.
frequent Daft Punk tribute act, which you should go and find because you will be in your element. They come on
I
with the
would really
masks.
like that. There used to be a local one in Dublin as well. I think they were called Daft Funk.
Oh, okay.
Daft Funk.
I can
That
see what
seems
they
a bit
did.
too obvious, though, right? I
Yeah,
would have done like Daft Dunk. That's what
yeah.
I would have gone with.
Maybe we should start that. Although people would
Green.
know who was in it now, so we'd probably blown our cover.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think instruments would be a problem too. Like I don't play any instruments right now, but I used to play the flute, the Irish flute,
Right.
and the drums. So I mean, I think we can make something work there.
Yeah, complementary instruments.
Yeah, yeah. It's an underrated instrument.
Absolutely. On note of sci-fi,
Hmm.
how do you feel about the film Donnie Darko and that soundtrack?
Oh, well, I don't remember the soundtrack, so I think that's
Okay,
probably
well,
an
you've
indication.
insulted me to the core there. We'll
Oh
move on to
man,
question two.
that's the last thing I want to do is hurt your feelings. Great movie though, excellent movie. Those kind of
Yes,
movies that make you think and don't and doesn't make any sense until you go onto Looper or Screen Rant and read the ending and explain.
yeah,
That's that kind of movie.
absolutely. All right, let's move on. The next question is a random question. You haven't been asked to prepare for this, and I'm very intrigued to see how you get on.
Oh goodness.
I know that you're a big anime fan. I've never understood
Yes.
it, but I will let you have it
Uh-huh.
on this occasion. And my question for you is, when did
Mhm.
Pokemon first air on television?
Oh Jesus. I actually don't know the answer to this one. I do remember watching it though.
If you don't get it right, you're
Pokemon.
going to have to return your anime card.
But it's gold and it's
It's
metal.
shiny.
I can't part ways with that. It's my pride. It's my identity. I'm going to take a guess and say 1996.
Final answer?
That is that is my final answer.
Okay.
Yes.
So I would have
Oh.
accepted 3 different years, depending on where in the world you said it was. And the earliest was in Japan, probably no surprise, in 1997. You were very
That hurts me to the
close.
core. I wouldn't have minded if I was a couple of years off, but to be 1 year off that is
Yeah,
very
so
painful.
please mail me your anime card and I will destroy it.
You know why I think? You know why I guessed 96? Because I think it was a year or two after that was when it came out on Game Boy. So I have like a
Mm.
very strong memory of going to my local game store and picking up Pokemon on my first Game Boy. It was
Which,
the
which
purple
color?
translucent Game Boy Color.
Which color of Pokemon?
It was blue. It
Blue.
was blue.
Mm.
So it was red or blue. I could have waited till next week and get Pokemon Yellow. And I really like Pikachu, but I didn't have the patience for it, which is kind of impressive for I don't know how old I was then, maybe like six or seven. So I ended up with blue.
Okay.
Great
Well,
replay value.
oh yes, indeed. All right, let's move on to the official question too. What do you find yourself consistently having to convince people of?
This was the hardest question of all of these, by the way. And I was trying to think, is there something like meaningful that I can really bring to this conversation when it comes to convincing people? And I'm afraid the answer is no. And the only thing that stuck in my head since I've been thinking about this was I've had many conversations where I've had to say to people that pineapples don't grow on trees.
Okay, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Life throws curveballs at you, and this
Well,
is
you've
one of
just
them.
thrown one at me, and I've been struck out. People, okay, so the question is consistently convince people of, and you've had this conversation enough times for that to be where you've gone and thought, do you know what? I've said to too many people, I need to broadcast this.
You think I'm making this up, but it's actually quite true. Pre-COVID times, this was a conversation that came up at least once a month.
That's so good.
It's kind of like the conversation about like tomato,
Right.
like pineapples is just one of those interesting facts. I feel like a lot of people think that how pineapples grow on trees, much like coconuts. That's what they think about when you talk about.
It would be quite a sight.
It would be great, right? Because you're thinking of palm trees. Pineapples look like mini palm trees, so it's palm trees on palm trees. But that's not the case. It grows from the ground in the center of a little plant. It's kind of like,
I almost wish they did grow on trees now. We're going to have this conversation again at some point, and I'm going to say, "Hey, did you know that pineapples grow on trees?" And you're going to leave the room.
Yes, I'm afraid that will probably happen.
Okay, let's just jump onto that. I can't believe where that came from, but that is fantastic.
Has everyone else asked very serious ones when it comes to that question?
Let's say no.
Let's say no.
And
okay. I feel better
it's
now.
all mostly been tree based, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So you're in good company.
A lot of people study biology then.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, next question. What's the best thing that you've never worked on?
This was also a very tough one, and I think just because of I feel like just that stereotypical designer that picks something that's tech related, but also tech is something that's always been a part of my life. I think I was 4 when I got my first computer.
Ooh.
And I was 4 when I broke my first computer. So
right.
There's a lot of history there.
Straight in, straight out.
Straight in, straight out. Yeah, just like a repair store, except I don't charge anything and I don't get any money. Yeah, I would say that the iPod Classic for me. The one with the aluminum back, the click wheel interaction. I actually remember when I saw an iPod for the first time, and it was in my auntie's place. So my uncle, he was the only person that I remember that actually owned like a Macintosh PC. And so he also had an iPod. And I remember thinking like this was like something out of a sci-fi movie. I'd never heard of an MP3 player before, right? It had always been cassette. And I think what's really interesting is that interaction is something that's kind of stuck with iPods for years, right? It never really changed, which makes me feel that they nailed it the first time. And the iPod was really the foundation for the iPod Touch, and of course the iPhone. So I think they got to try a lot of really interesting ideas. If it wasn't that, I would have said like designing smartphones in the 2000s. There's some pretty wild stuff there, but
all the Nokia stuff.
Yeah, there were like flip phones and like phones that were like Z-shaped and keypads that were all over the place. But the iPod is something that's just has always been close to my heart.
Absolutely. It touches a bunch of different senses. It looks great. It feels great. The tactileness of that wheel was just amazing. And I think most people would miss that, or if they got to experience it first time, would miss it because it was just so nice to use and felt great. And you obviously had, do you remember the iTunes game that they had on it, where it would play you a sample of a song?
No, I don't.
Well, you missed out. You need to go and buy yourself an iPod Classic now and go and play that game. It was really, really good. I also remember when one of my friends got one and just being blown away by white headphones. That was a
probably
touch.
the first to do it too, right?
Yeah. And even just something simple as not providing a stock pair of headphones in black, boring and standard, was so simple but effective, even down to the level of them providing white plugs now, sockets, charger cables.
Actually, that's a very good point, and I wonder if that was part of the success as well, right?
Well, yeah, because you stand out. Everyone knows that you've got white headphones in. They're going to be from Apple.
And they really used that. I remember a lot. There was some like really iconic Apple marketing where, do you remember the black silhouettes and they'd have different color backgrounds, and then the only thing you would see was the white headphones and an iPod in the hand.
Yeah, which is a marketing campaign before it was even a marketing campaign. That's the kind of depth that I think all of us strive to get to with our own products. And we can dream.
Something that lasts, I think, is one of the hardest things to do, especially in product design today. You know, a lot of approaches are more focused on getting stuff out than building something that really matters, or that reaches a certain bar of quality.
Yeah, so we need to be shipping our products with aluminium plate that scratches.
That scratches, and then we'll also create a case that's silver and maybe scratches as well.
Yeah,
and then we'll add an add-on cover, and those are all sold separately, by the way. So
by multiple different companies,
including the headphones.
Yeah, you're gonna need an adapter, by the way.
Which is only available in the US.
Okay, where do I buy it? Where do I buy this great product?
Oh, there's always someone. I don't know if you remember growing up, there was always that one person that always went to America and brought you back cool stuff.
Yep. You have one of those kids in every school.
Yeah, that was me for one Christmas. It was actually, funny enough, it was to do with Pokemon. It was the later versions of Pokemon that came out 6 months earlier in the US than it did in Europe, which doesn't make any sense, by the way. That's just cruel. If you did that today, you know, there'd be trouble, right? The keyboard warriors would be at your doorstep.
I.e. you.
Me, just me.
Tweeting out your angst at the Pokemon cards not being available yet. It's okay, we can hook you up.
Pokemon cards somewhere.
Yes, indeed. All right. Now we have a word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Design System Documentation. Because what better way to make sure your developers know exactly what you want to build than with a verbose 1,000-word essay about your sub-pixel grid system? Conversations are overrated anyway. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Question.
That was a great sponsor.
4. I can't believe we got them in, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Had to pull lots of strings for that. Question 4. What would your last meal be? I'm looking forward to how you interpreted this as well.
Yeah, last meal. I feel like everyone's last meal is going to be very strange, right? It can't just be one thing. It has to be many things. And for me, it's a mixture of. For me, it's a mixture of different kinds of memories, right? That's what my last meal.
You want to eat memories?
So, well, I mean, if you could, I don't know how nice they would taste.
Slice and dice them. Sorry, I interrupted you. Please carry on talking.
I don't know. Maybe by the time I have my last meal, there'll be some form of 3D printing that can print memories. Who knows?
Aluminium plated.
And remember, the cover's sold separately. So it would definitely be a few things. I would probably start off with something very simple, like nectarines, right? You know, something to kind of warm the palate.
Right.
So nectarines for me always reminds me of the summers that I spent in Greece. So I'm part Greek, part Irish, raised in Ireland, and so we'd normally spend our summers in Greece. And for nectarines was something that, at least growing up, something you can never really find in Ireland. And that was the thing that my Greek grandmother, little old Biddy, she'd always come toddling out with nectarines, a can of Coke, which really probably conflict each other, in terms of health. But anyway, lots of good memories there. It's just one of the things that I think of when it comes to Greece.
Okay, so the entree is an aluminium dish of nectarines. Please carry on.
I don't know how much of a fan you are of dishoom, but dishoom is something that I have very close to my heart as well. Indian food is something I haven't been to India before, and I can't wait for the day that I do. But for now, dishoom will have to do. And I I remember, so it would be keema pao, the keema pao dish from Deliveroo, which is like this small. It's probably more Iranian, but it has like this really nice like spiced mince mixed with like peas, and it's got this like really nice little bun. That would be my next piece, right?
Okay.
I remember being in the shoe. How they've like decorated the place is, you feel like you're kind of traveling in time a bit. Now that was a really cool moment. Of course, my last meal will obviously have ramen, but where? From where is the real question, and it would be from a ramen from Ichiran. So Ichiran is a chain in Japan. I think they're in New York as well, actually. But that was like something that I'd always want. It sounds so stereotypical, actually, like having ramen in Japan, right? But I went on a solo trip to Japan maybe 2 years ago, and I remember I met with one of my colleagues there. He was also over, and I remember walking into Ichiran for the first time. So they have these like small little. Well, first you order from a vending machine.
Okay.
Right. You put your coins in and you pick based off the vending machine, and it gives you a little ticket. Then you get brought to, there's individual booths. So there's like it's like different things sticking out left and right, you know. So it's like
an individual, like a telephone box.
Kind of, but yeah, kind of like a telephone box, but a lot more open.
Right.
And
so
you don't have to worry about the person beside you.
Old-fashioned working space that you see in the old movies.
Yeah, sort of like that. And you know, they'd have there would be curtains covered in front, so like you couldn't see the kitchen. It was just kind of, you're in your own element. And I remember just like eating it for the first time and getting like extra rich broth. You know, like you could choose your noodles, you could customize the hell out of it. And so like when I really enjoy my food, I like tend to be pretty vocal about it. Like I make questionable noises. And I remember like my friend and my colleague just pissing themselves laughing for about 10 minutes because I just couldn't believe how good it was. And that was a great moment, right, for food and for myself, mostly myself, but for food as well. And then we're talking about this for a while, but you know, last meal, very important, right? That's now I've really thought it through. So like I'm going to have it set in stone. I think we're going to have to start looking at dessert now. What do you think? I think dessert.
Well, you can have as many courses as you want. This is your last meal, my friend.
Yeah. See, I don't want to eat too many courses because there's nothing worse than feeling too full.
It's your last meal.
I think. Because it's kind of, yeah, that is true, but you still want to enjoy it as well, right?
That's true. You
don't want to have like a major bloated food baby. Like nobody wants that. But a food coma, maybe, you know, if that was the result of my last meal, I would probably be okay with that. You know, there's plenty of worse ways to go. But for dessert, it has to be sticky toffee pudding. It's just simple, very rich. I've had that since I was a kid, and that just also kind of reminds me of home growing up. And you know, just with my mom in the kitchen, that would be one of the desserts she'd always make. So got a lot of fond memories for that.
Famous compliment to a good ramen is a sticky toffee pudding.
I'm telling you, there's a gap in the market. Just like listen to me.
All out of the vending machine.
All out of the vending. Oh God.
Are you going with the ice cream on this? Custard, cream? Where are we going?
I think it's got to be it's got to be vanilla ice cream. Very, very simple on top. 1, maybe 2 scoops. Actually, let's go for 3 scoops and a really big sticky toffee pudding. I think it's just like that melted caramel. It's so sweet. It's probably too sweet if you have too much, but it's just right. And it's like that nice sponge. And then we'll finish off with, hands down, the most underrated snack on the planet is honey butter almonds.
Okay. I've never heard of that.
Yes, this is also something. Where did I find it? It was in Seoul, so in South Korea was where I found them. But I think they're in a lot of Asian markets. They're there, like Singapore or whatever. That was like that was the definition of crack for me, was eating those honey. Like I couldn't believe how sensational something that was an almond that was covered in some powder could blow your socks off. And it was pretty expensive too, but like
worth it.
It's worth it. I think it's like maybe 15-20 quid on Amazon if you want to get it imported, but I would highly recommend everyone in the world to try that at least once. Like I've considered making them myself just to see if I could do it, but it's my last meal, so I'm not going to make it.
Is that all the courses?
I think so. Yeah, okay. I think that's fair.
Okay, you haven't mentioned a drink or drinks.
Oh goodness!
It's optional, but feel free.
It is optional. Yeah.
You could pair a drink with each course if you wanted to.
Oh goodness! But then I might not have any room left, and I really want to eat those. I really want to eat that pudding and that honey, and then the ramen as well. Like you can't drink something with ramen because it's liquid in itself. Oh, Jesus! Yeah, there is maybe one. There's probably one beer I would have. Sierra. There's a Sierra Nevada that I remember. There was only one place in Dublin when I lived there that you could get it on tap. It was their IPA.
Great.
To be fair, it's actually not like the greatest tasting beer, but it's again, I have a lot of memories with it, and so I think like that's what I would like to spend my last meal.
Fantastic.
Eating memories, delicious memories.
One by one. For the ramen,
yes,
you're going to need to go into a little bit more detail. Noodle.
Oh yeah, of course.
Noodle
My
type,
God.
Thickness, bite.
Yeah,
what's going on?
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be Hakata ramen noodles. I like them like pretty bouncy, so they're more on the undercooked side. And then when it comes to the broth, it's a tonkatsu ramen is my favorite one. So that's like tonkatsu is like cooked in like pig bones and marrow and stuff like that, or chicken bones. I think it's quite a few different things actually.
Pretty sure it's pork mostly.
Yeah. So it would 100% be that, and I think what, they always put bamboo shoots on ramen bowls, and I don't get it.
Throw those on the floor.
I think like I might have 1 or 2 just for texture, but that's as far as I would go. Same for mushrooms. I'm like, I really don't like mushrooms, and I think it's because of the color. Which sounds really stupid. I don't know if anyone else has decided they don't like something they don't want to eat something because of the color. And
well, I think it's obviously like the famous people not eating their greens.
Oh yes, that's a second cousin.
You're just not eating your earth colored.
yeah, that goes way back.
Okay.
I blame my Irish mother for that.
Great.
And
anything else to add?
It would probably have to have 2 eggs. So like normally with ramen you get 1 egg or half of an egg, half of a cured egg, right? Cured boiled egg is on a whole other.
That's on a different
whole other level. Yeah. Different planet. I would even go that far. I would have
Fantastic.
2 of those. Yeah.
Okay, we've locked that in. That's your last meal.
I think so, yeah.
And had you considered if this was a last meal in the death sentence version, have you considered what your crime was?
Yes. I feel like I didn't feel comfortable talking about murder on this. Like you can't talk. I mean, that's probably a crime that would warrant debt, but I think the Irish and the Brits, we have long history with those 6 counties up top. So I think my crime would be stealing back those 6 counties for the Republic of Ireland, which is somewhat political and probably impossible to do. But because I pulled it off, I would probably die because of it.
I should probably add a warning to this episode. It's going very political very quickly.
Oh, I'm not strong on the political side. It's more of a joke than anything else.
No, absolutely fine. Okay, we've locked in your crime. We've locked in your meal. I can't wait to see you eat all of that food.
I'm worried. I'm actually like, I know I'm going to have it like a long time away, but I'm actually already nervous about it because that's a lot of food.
Yep,
that's a lot of food. But then again, your meal can span several hours, really.
Indeed, you can drag that out.
I should have been more tactical about it.
No, absolutely fine. We've locked it in for you. It will be served whenever you've stolen those 6 counties. Okay, final and most important question. What's your favorite curse word? I cannot wait for you to give me your answer to this one.
There is many curse words in Irish slang. We're actually spoiled for choice.
Okay.
But most of the slang words or curse words they all have the same meaning. And I think for me, growing up, I'll always fall back on gobshite. Gobshite is an all-time Irish classic. It's something that has been it's a part of my life, really, from Father Ted, the Christmas special in particular. Like, so a gobshite, for those who aren't familiar, gobshite is used.
Can you spell it for us?
Yes. So it's GOBSHITE. Gobshite.
Fantastic.
It is, it's one of the greatest curse words of all time, and it's definitely my favorite. And it has so many uses, like there's actually a lot of Irish curse words that start with gob for some reason. You have gobsheen. I actually won't go on anymore because that'll take too much time. But a great example of using gobshite is, I'll give you a really good example here. That Moira one is some gobshite. Sure, she's only after putting diesel in her old one's petrol car. There's a good example for you.
Yeah, that needs decoding, doesn't it? Really?
I think it does. And
I also haven't heard that word. I haven't heard that word in 15 years, and you brought it back to my life. Thank you for that.
Hopefully there's no trauma included with it.
No, not at all. I haven't been called a gobshite for putting diesel in my petrol car, thankfully. But Moira has, so we need to.
Moira has, yeah. Take that, Moira. That's what you get.
That's what you get. Okay. All right.
I think with Ireland, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, we both said it at the same time. Touche. Ireland also has not just many curses, but also many phrases as well. There's like a lot of curse kind of phrases, and I feel like there's this one.
Is that half the language curses?
Pretty much. Half of our conversations are using certain phrases and piecing them together. And me and my friends growing up, we always, like when you're a group of like lads growing up, we always try to make fun of each other's appearances and stuff like that. And we'd always say, sure, even the sea wouldn't give him a wave.
Oh my
God. That's bad, right? That's a real feeling herder right there.
That is terrible. Well, thank you for sharing.
Hilarious.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I hope the audience finds an opportunity to use it.
I do too, and then we can call it back to you when they get fired for calling this a gobshite. Feel free to reach out to Christos.
I'm happy to.
Thank you for those answers. Feedback. Hey, we went down loads of rabbit holes, and I learned a lot, particularly that lots of people don't know much about pineapples. And I'm glad you shared that with me. It was fantastic. Hope you had fun.
You're most welcome. This is what I came to do.
Fantastic. If there's anything you'd like to follow up with Christos about, you can reach him on Twitter at
Not Christos.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.